Okay, so we're recording this for our Poetry Playhouse YouTube channel, so people can watch this after, and we'll send out the link as well. So I'm Jules, and thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate having you out here at the Poetry Playhouse in beautiful Placitas. I know these are troubling times as well, so I think it's really important to have some community, fellow poets and readers and artists. I'm from Minnesota, so I have a lot of friends that are directly affected by ice and what's going on over there. So we do stand in solidarity with Minnesota, and I think they're teaching us a lot for any city on how to prepare for things. So, but it's really important to write and have a voice. So I encourage you to keep writing and having community. So with that, I'll have John introduce John Macker. So John Macker will start with his book, and then we'll have George Wallace reading. And then afterwards, we have some cake and book signing. And so feel free to. So great. Well, thanks for being here. All right.
All right.
Great.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody. And we got two of my favorite poets here today, one from Santa Fe and one from New York City. And we're starting with John Macker, who most of you know. And he has done several workshops for the Playhouse here, and as well as read here before. And John's originally from Colorado, got very active in the Colorado poetry scene, and then moved down to the Pecos area, and now Santa Fe. And he's a poet and a playwright. We just saw a wonderful play of his up at Teatro Paraguas. And he's won a number of awards, read throughout the West, widely published, and he is here with several books, and it's always a great pleasure to hear John Macker.
Gotta make sure is this right? Wow. Well, hope I don't have to look at this very often. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. I just want to mention it's a real privilege to read with George Wallace. I've followed his work for a long time, international poet. I was pleased John and Jules had me blurb his latest book, Resurrection Kisses, and it's really a good book. It's a real fun book, and a little different from what I'm used to with George, but it's good stuff. And I have a couple free poetry postcards if you'd like to pick up a couple that are free. One's promotional postcards for this book. The publishers, Ozark Zen Press, Michael and Jennifer are right here. They're wonderful friends, publishers. I have a long relationship with them. And I want to thank John and Jules for their support and friendship over the years. It's been wonderful to be a part of this poetic community and this space here at Placitas. Like they said, I've done, I think the last workshop I did was in September. And I didn't know how many people we were going to get, for this workshop. And they said, hey, this is going to be great. You can do it for 5 hours and blah, blah, blah. We're paying. I said, 5 hours. Oh my God, what am I going to do for 5 hours? But it worked out perfectly, and we had a packed house, and it was a lot of fun, and they're very supportive and very knowledgeable, and great publishers, and so yeah, it's good to be part of all this. I'll read from this new book published by Ozark Zen Press that's located now in Taos. And this was a book that was kind of, its creation was a little fraught with not only the world situation, but just choosing the poems and trying to get the trajectory right in this book. And the first part of it is mostly elegies to people I've lost over the years, and we've all lost. And it ends up out in the desert in the middle of nowhere. And this is called Happiness. It's ends with a line by a poet I admire named Thomas Centinela. I found Thomas Centinela's book in a thrift store, and his poem about happiness made me, briefly and without having to look over my shoulder, happy. It is 19 degrees out, but it's okay. There's a breeze. A ragged couple next to the Savers in the cold rifle through a shopping cart of cast-off dirty clothes. A young girl in ICE custody dies of dehydration. Her temperature was 106 degrees. It is warm on the border for December, signifying nothing. The desert belongs as much to the supernal as it does its own track seeking water. As a polar bear loping across vanishing sea ice belongs to Aurora Borealis. She didn't need happiness to be mille fleur or even contagious. She didn't need happiness to reinvigorate her sense of being. She needed the smile of a clean glass of water and a meal. She needed to belong to us and was made of us, and we wear the same uninhibited cast-offs in the cold. Yes, she belongs to us, and the ground is bitter and replete with those we've cast off, but we'll never touch such spirit within such easy reach again. And what little happiness remained in her clenched fist was released to become a red-tailed hawk, turning resistance into ecstasy. This is called cerrado, which is Spanish for closed. It's a true story about the genesis of the poem is my wife slipping in her studio and breaking her wrist. And it was right after the pandemic. It was like 2021, and we had to take her. There was wildfires everywhere. It was in August. Wildfires all surrounding Santa Fe. The place was full of smoke, and we had to take her to the emergency room. Cerrado. I was listening to Mingus's Gunslinger Bird in the living room when I heard a loud thump coming from her studio. She was on the floor holding her bent Quasimodo wrist. As ugly a break as I'd ever been to. She had slipped and landed on her hip and hand. She went briefly into shock and stared at the ceiling. She didn't recognize me as her husband, thought I was playing live music from somewhere in the 5 points of her imagination. But after she came around, she swore the darkness tried to close in around her. And I took her to urgent care on a hot, smoky night, the droughts of August. And they determined she'd need surgery. They determined older people slip and fall right before we begin to fade away. We are too old to be gunslingers. Bird died at 34. The nights closed in on him like carnivorous angels. And she now holds her bandaged wrist above her heart and walks with a cane. And life doesn't feel precious. It resembles an open wound we spend a lot of our time closing. Wildfire smoke fills the air. The sun has turned orange. Another man of color shot in the back. And who doesn't want to close the book on this grievous year? Who hasn't gone into shock, eyes filled with ash? And today I played music so loud it emptied the neighborhood of life as we know it. But it gradually returned. The silent ambulance mercifully left the cul-de-sac without the sick lady across the street. Victor brought in his recycling bin. I read, "Some words die in cages." And I thought about what breaks us, what mends us, the border, separations, what closes our hearts for good. I thought about Hair Trigger America. and how smoke is the summer language of ghosts. April 23rd poem is a birthday poem. And this is kind of a celebration of New Mexico, living here, and kind of the mystery and magic of New Mexico. April 23rd poem. And I was born on April 23rd, and it's also Shakespeare's birthday, but that has nothing to do with anything. Nothing. And it's also, they think, his death day as well. I like it here, and it still beguiles me. The hard mountains rise helter-skelter suddenly out of the skillet flatness. It's provided a place for mariposa, desierto, alamosa, words I never leave home without, that keep me in their hard beauty. The old pueblo has vanished into the bosque, along with its scorpions and exiled wisdoms. The Rio Grande reverts back into the sky it once was. The presence of absence prevails, draws some of us into the ground with it, and this now quiescent space is insatiable, like ruins. And what else is born on the dust but dystopian springs swarming over the heart of Navajo Nation? Ghost towns rise among the living. There's no time to wax ambivalent. The lights in our spirits don't just shine, they deflagrate. And I'm at the bottom of some stark, sane, untamed canyon where quarantine looks like the desert, where the mariposa lilies bloom and can sometimes coax juniper bluebirds of words from the sky. It goes on. And I'll read, not the end poem yet. I will read a poem called 16 Directions to My House. And I got this after Juan Felipe Herrera, a poet I like a lot. And he had a poem called 3 Directions to My House. And I thought that, well, I could do better than that. And he has a quote. He says, "You are there, almost, without a name, without a body. Go now. 1, find true north on your compass and locate the crossroads where you shredded the most debilitating of your regrets. 2, if you're coming from the south, turn right at the petrified forest and let the scorpions light your way. 3, if you run into the ghost of Charles Manson, you've gone too far. 4, retrace your steps. 5, Lao Tzu said to do your work and then step back, the true path to serenity. Well, serenity can be a ghost town. Use the traffic circle. 6, follow the theory and practice of regenerative rivers. 7, ignore the chaos magic sign and proceed north by northwest into the heart of your temporary madness. 8, if you find me hibernating, you've come to the wrong cave. 9, if you discovered that the American experiment, as performed by alchemists, hysterics, pseudo-shamans, slumlords, politicians, and polluters, is terrifying, that climate change is the Moloch of our lives, and that happiness is not a warm gun, you've come to the right neighborhood. 10, if you've reached the point where the Rio Grande disappears into the Badlands and feisty Aprils of wind impress the sun with their effortless dust, you've gone too far. 11, give the Trump Loy mural on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, my best. 12, pass Hopi land. Place is spirit, place is power, place is landform. I try to live off the grid in one or all of these places in my mind. 13, my address is impossible to discern after dark. 14, a power that be wants to implant a microchip in my brain so I can communicate my maladies to a computer. No middleman. I won't need an address. 15. Past the incandescence of youth, every bar a star, every entrance an event, every sentence a chorale, every word gospel, there's always a somewhere ruptured by war. And if you have to be sure, don't write. Berryman told Merwin one day in the dry heat of eternity. 16. A blessing of kiva smoke on a far rise. Snow, distance, moon, calliope hummingbird, desert tortoise are cosmic apertures that expose the darkness around them. I'm the house with the stacked cordwood and wind chill. Follow the blue sky up the driveway. I hope you like spirits. Welcome. And I'm going to read one last one. And it's the title poem called Alchemy of Headwinds. And it's an elder's poem. It's a poem that I kind of try to come to terms with my mortality. And there's a quote by Cristina Rivera Garza, who writes, "Writing is deep time." Alchemy of Headwinds. I'm just drifting through words today. They're a flock of black angels flirting with the grindhouse wind. More gyral path than omen. Winter inters another march beneath gray skies. A few flakes on my gray hair suggest a dollop of mortality, but which one of the past's ghosted years is counting? A wind chime's delicacy of the senses is more improvisation than finished composition. In a couple of years, Kali willing, I'll have accumulated 70 cords of firewood, or at least that many variations on a life's theme, or at least some 70 strands of emancipated memory I've kept close to my heart. Early spring can be a dull gray thing that won't divulge the common ruins of any particular fate, but insists on the symbiosis of sexy Aprils, exhumed starlight, a repartee with birdsong, wizened twilights. This is the unceremonious transfer of seasons. This an alchemy of headwinds. My friend of 40 years just disappeared, chasing his breath. My black sphinx of a chow lies on guard in the snow. The flock sings, more admonition than hymn. Not everything has to be etched in stone. Not everyone has to be revealed in no uncertain terms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Powerful, powerful work. And it's great that the publishers of Alchemy of Headwinds are here. So, and there are copies. This is the New Mexico book launch of Resurrection Kisses. And Jules and I published it last fall. And we're so happy, we're so pleased that George came down to read for us. And he'll also be tomorrow at Chatter in Albuquerque on 3rd Street at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So I think there may still be some tickets available online. You can check, and that's always a fun time. I think Beethoven is on the agenda for tomorrow as well on the program. So Jules and I first met George maybe 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. We took a workshop with him just outside of Rochester, New York, and we've been fortunate to keep in contact over the years. He lives in Huntington, New York. He's for 12 years has been the resident poet for the Walt Whitman Birthplace Museum Foundation, and he is the author of it says 42. I think it's at least 43 books or chapbooks of poetry and several CDs, and is has an organization called Poetrybay, which is a terrific organization, and also is the and has a journal, and also has Walt's Corner in the Long Islander, which was the newspaper founded by Walt Whitman, and very active, as John mentioned, internationally in international festivals in Greece, the Balkans, Latin America, Italy, and other places. And so he's a great, he created this thing called Poets Building Bridges, an International Triangulation Project. And George embodies that notion of poets building bridges because he's been doing that for decades all over the world. And I think he's maybe the most, the most community oriented bridge building poet that I know of. And so, as well as his own terrific work, he also does, just a great service to the international poetry community. And I think especially American poets tend to be very insular, unfortunately. And so George is somebody that helps to remedy that. And I've been involved with a couple of those international Zoomed readings for the Poets Building Bridges series. So I don't know when the next one is. Is it January or?
Well, this year we're going to do two mega, one in March, one in September.
Okay, March. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and welcome George Wallace. Mm-hmm. I should mention, though, that Denise Weaver Ross is here, who didn't just do the cover; she did a painting. She painted the picture that is now on the cover. So thank you, Denise. Great you're here. All right.
Great. Yeah. After the reading, we get to eat the cover.
And Albertsons did a beautiful job with the cover.
One time, it's 45 chapbooks now. I had one done by Shiv Mirabito in Woodstock out of rice paper. And this time of year, he's in Kathmandu, Nepal, and then he goes down to Goa or someplace like that. But while he's in Kathmandu in the wintertime, he puts together books. And that's the book that has a distinction of actually being one that you can eat. You can eat the rice paper. So I was meaning for that. I want to thank John and Jules, who I followed, from Rochester, Western New York, down to what they're doing here with y'all here in this part of the world, and introducing me to what's happening here. It's very nice to see how exciting the work is that you're doing, and to see the collection of people here today to celebrate your community of writers, and also to extend it so that, I learn a little bit about you, you learn a little bit about me, and hopefully we can do the good work of building poetry from various communities from the ground up to a community of poets. I know with sadness that today that Jamie Cassidy, one of the daughters of Neil Cassidy, died yesterday, and sad moment. Jamie was one of those of the generation of post-beat writers who was considered an archivist and an interpreter and a promoter of the legacy of her family and the family of beat poets. And that's a generation of people who are inheritors in a way. And I think the whole idea, I'll read 6 or 7 poems, but the whole idea of being an inheritor of a previous generation of writers and what it means to be an inheritor is an important thing to think about, and how to be a good inheritor, and not just live in the shadow of previous people who have this reputation or level of fame or influence, not just to be their archivists, but to inherit their artistry, and to cultivate our own artistry based on the things that they've done. That is the inheritance, because like Nearly Tchaikovsky said in his book Whitman's Wild Children, we have to become the actual children of the previous generations that we may have been associated with one or another. Here, people that knew Robert Creeley or other people that were in this area. We do live our lives, we do our art, and our art deserves to have its day in the sun. At the same time, celebrating the people and the influence, not just the influence of their reputation, but the influence of their art on what it is we do. And I think if we do that, then we're honoring the legacy of those very good people in a way that's not just a celebration of their fame, but a celebration of their work. So that's Jamie Cassidy. The reason I'm so excited about this book is that it reflects, for the first time, examples of work that I've done that's truly paired with music. Over the years, I had done a lot of spoken word, with David Amram and Thurston Moore and other people. They get up on stage with me, and they start laying down some music, and I start doing some poetry, and maybe they're listening, and maybe there's some synchronicity going on, or maybe I'm trying to climb over the top of somebody to get my own voice to happen. There's that kind of spoken word collaboration in the moment. I've done a lot of that, but I've always been interested in seeing how I could pair poetry with music in new ways. And at first it was to take a poem basically intact and maybe clip just this part here and clip this part here and make it so that it fits as a lyric that somebody could write music to. But in the past year, I've gone from that to sampling my 25 years or whatever it is of writing, and sampling it and finding triggers in the poem that will lead me to create a new product, and then treat that entirely as a new lyric, which then is built based on the artistic principles of lyrics and how they work in tandem with music. So this whole book is examples of that. And I have some CDs here, which you won't be able to listen to because they're broken. But go on YouTube to my channel and you can hear any of 300 or so songs that I've written. But here's a sample just of the words themselves. There'll be peace at the end of the world. I've seen it in sad dreams and blue cafes, tasted it in the howl of wind weeping at street corners, inside sandwich shops. Peace at the end of the world. I've felt it glow in the low, dark, secret places and in sunlight kitchenettes where working men go to for 20 precious minutes of solace, and me, disappointed, disappearing along with them. Beer, sandwiches, soup bowls, warm pie on cold plates, spoons and clattering coffee cups. 20 precious minutes being left the hell alone, while bee-headed waitresses behind tired countertops contemplate their tips. Peace at the end of the world, I tell you, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, held it in my hands, and I bet you have too. At the end of the night shift, busboys piling chairs up on tables, and the homeless turning back into shadows, and the man with the mop walloping the floor with soapy water, and the bleach in your eyes, and the boss with the cash register, and the great cook in the kitchen hanging his sauce pots back up on hooks, expert as a samurai. And outside on the boulevard, rich men and women strolling past, the women in high heels and furs, taking their time or racing along in pursuit of hot lovers and cold appointments. I see them too, through grease and mirrors, through smoke and window glass. They're magnificent. They're also captives to time. They're lost artifacts and grand civilizations, going where daylight goes and everything goes with it, to where eternity bleeds what's black and holy back into the world, and all this stupidity ends. All the stupidity ends. All this, which surrounds us and fills the heart of every woman and man past all holding, and all of us walking to the same metronome, through sunshine and icy rain, toward the light at the end of the world, where peace begins. This one is really, repurposed, not just repurposed, but reconstructed. So it goes off on a tangent from maybe 2 lines in one poem and becomes a whole scenario of its own. This one here, it's called In Every City, a City We Just Don't See. A city of ghosts, saints, broken angels, newsagents, sausage stuffers, invisible hipsters wise to the new ways, city of blind rage and broke ambition, drunks, more drunks, and dreamers, steamrollers, teetotalers, Hart Cranes, Jack Londons, Frank O'Hara's, Juna Barnes, the city we just don't see. We just do not see. Undercurrent gangs of men looking for work. Shift changers, pocket pickers, loners, losers, luckless damn fools. Children of children of children, mothers with parasols and prams. Brain surgeons with sterilized hands. Patriots, pioneers, hookers with their eyes on the prize. The muse strikes back. The muse strikes back. Out through the front door, in through the back, tough gents, plutocrats, churchmen tipping their hats to each other, mobsters and secret politicians with trigger fingers. Another city we just don't see. We just do not see. Deferential men, defeated men, rich men full of pride, deal makers, mulish, passionate, cruel, drugged out, soul-saving, inventors, iconoclasts, flower merchants, tuba players, old women teetering on their blue-veined legs, shy boys red-faced in the snow. Women with jewels, fast-moving machines, money, smokestacks dump trucks burning in the soot-black night. Another city we just do not see. Smiles, menthol cigarettes, high heels, low riders, high rollers. Lost my place. Oh, lowriders, tongues like typewriters, deadbeats, highliners, bottom feeders, top dogs, rap musicians, pocket pickers, seamstresses, strike busters, union goons, city within a city, we just don't see. We pass through it. We pass through it with our impossible wandering eyes, wreathed in oblivious mist. Hip, lost singers and secret angels of the city within the city we just don't see. Thank you. All right, so this is an ethnic poem, New York ethnic poem. Please somebody take a picture so I can send it to my wife and it'll prove that I exist in this space. This poem's called Mozzarella Soup. And really, the only reason I wrote it was so I could say mozzarella soup out loud in front of other people. Some people look at a trash can. They think it's something you're supposed to empty. Some people look at a trash can. They think it's something you're supposed to fill. I look at a trash can and I think of arguing with my big sisters over whose turn it is to take the damn thing out. That my Uncle Nick, who lived in an apartment in Astoria and fixed watches 5 days a week. He came out to visit us on Long Island. In the country, he said. Long Island in the country. I guess there was potato farms at that point. Every Friday night, sat there across the table from me, stuffing his big fat mouth with everything on the table he could reach. Pasta, salad, coffee, sausages, mozzarella soup, peach pie, anything my mother cooked for him. He'd even eat Swedish meatballs. Well, that man, he could eat. He'd eat the cat if it let him, said my mother. And well, Uncle Nick, he did like to eat. He ate like a champ, I'll give him that. He was king of the dinner table on a Friday night. It took so long for him to eat that my mom used to lose patience with him, and my sisters lost patience with him. My father, well, he didn't lose patience with him, but I didn't lose patience with him either. It was fun to watch his face. It would go red as a tomato on a vine and the sweat pouring off of his forehead. And besides that, he was always sneaking me a glass of wine and laughing about it. And winking at my dad and saying things like, you know, boys, some people in this world, they look at the water in a glass and they say it's half empty. Some other people say it's half full. But you and me, we know better than those people. We know what to do. We're the smart ones. The smart ones know to put the glass of water down and pick up a glass of wine. And he would nod his head and look around the table and wink and then drink down the wine and ask for another fill and go back to eating in brilliant silence until there's no food anywhere. His plate was empty, and my mother would finally clear the dishes, and Uncle Nick and my father would go outside to smoke cigars. That was my Uncle Nick. Until one Friday night, he didn't come around anymore. He had a heart attack. He croaked. Just like that, said my father. He dropped dead. He croaked in his mozzarella soup. And well, they held a funeral for Uncle Nick in a cemetery in the city. And I had to attend and wear a suit and a tie. And they put old Nick in a dead man's grave. And I was there to watch that box full of Uncle Nick go down. It was not a pretty sight. Let me tell you, it's not a pretty sight at all. That grave wasn't half empty, and it wasn't half full. It was all that was left of my Uncle Nick. And I wanted to cry. I was supposed to cry. I just couldn't cry, so I watched my sisters cry with their big fat sister tears until the crying was done, and then we all went back home to our house in the country, and we ate mozzarella soup until I thought that I would die. I'm really proud to read with John Macker again. Nice to be paired with excellent people.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that John and George read together in 2019 up at Teatro Paralis.
Teatro Paradiddle or something, yeah. Yeah, it was a good place. This is my third visit to this area. The first time I was up in Taos and for Veronica Golos, and I stopped in Pilar, and I was invited. It was called Church of Beethoven back then. So that was my first visit, and then the second was to you all. Anyway, it's an important part of the country and the world of poetry for other people to know about. Here's a working man's poem. It just chills a man's heart to know that there's always a working man's bar at 4:30 in the afternoon when there's nobody supposed to be there. But you're there. You're there anyway. And screw the boss with his big fat hemorrhoid of a mouth. His big paycheck eyes. If he says anything like, where the hell were you today at 4:30 in the afternoon? There'll be hell to pay. There'll be hell to pay. But there's no hell to pay in this joint. It just chills a man's heart to know that even in the worst of circumstances, no matter what's happening, no matter how dark the world, there's always a working man's bar at 4:30 with nobody in it. You just sit there with a beer in your left hand, your money in your right, and nobody, no one, not a single solitary soul in the universe is going to say a word about it. Easy money, just like we were in heaven. Easy money. Yeah, heaven. We climbed each other like alley cats. We climbed each other like lucky rainbows. Oh, it was easy, easy, easy as easy. Money making money, a mountain of cash, a dump load of rotten money, cash poured out of every nook and cranny like honey from a geyser's mouth. Not pretty, not good, but gold. Gold upon gold. Earth coughed up coin angels every which way we looked. You wore a red sash. I wore hot chains of love. Oh, bolt of lightning. You wanted dollar signs. I wanted sunlight eating sunlight. And that's what we got. We got exactly what we wanted, exactly what we were asking for until the cash was gone and we got spit out like bones. We got spit out like chicken bones. Oh, easy, easy money. Oh, easy money. Why don't you love me now? I think two more. This one's absolutely a lyric, so you get a sense. There's a construction of lyrics that are going to dance with music. There's a very different experience when you're writing poetry with music in it, which you can hear sort of like a rhythm and the directionality of music in a lot of the poems I've done today. But a lyric has to be a partner in a dance with music. So there's various things you do to make that happen, repetition and hooks and things like that to make it happen. This poem is called Necessary Love. Trust a man who falls in love. Trust a woman who falls in love. Easily, easily. Every embrace a cloud, every kiss fresh as fresh water, every caress sown in the firm, sweet soil of love. Asphalt, canyon, crack of rock, in the darkness too, where no light goes. This light, that light, love, the canary in the coal mine, dust of diamond drills, scent of cedar, taken in whole, lifelong shelter or embraced for an hour. Love, necessary, necessary. Love, broken love. The world is fuller for it. The world's fuller for it. Men and women blinded by the holiness of flesh, the meat and musk and sweat of love, its full muscularity, mad discoveries and inspirations, laborious seductions, the bureaucracy of its ordinary and routine marriages. Love, love, necessary love. Trust a man who falls for it. Trust a woman who falls for it. Like water sprung from soil. Warnings, hesitations, headlines, the urgent sweat in the palm of your hand. Love, love, necessary love, purified by its own light, firm in its own sweet logic. Love, love in water, in sky, mistaking everything it touches for the face of God. Thank you. And I'll conclude with a dance poem. Emma Goldman, who I'm sure you know is a turn of the 20th century radical revolutionary, said, an anarchist, right? If I can't dance, it's not my revolution, she said. If I can't dance, it's not my revolution. I thought that was pretty clever. But I also remember, being a terrible dancer as a kid, and people would say, to me, dance like nobody's watching. Right? Which, made a certain kind of sense, but it didn't help me to dance any better, really. And then the third thing, which I pulled in to create this fabric, for the poem, is the Chicago Convention, 1968, when Mayor Daley's goons were beating up on yippies and hippies in Lincoln Park, I think it was, I forget, in Chicago. The crowd started chanting, "The whole world's watching. The whole world's watching." That gives me chills just to even say that. So those three things I tried to put together into this poem. Dance like the whole world's watching. Dance like the whole world's watching. And I would dedicate this to the people of Minneapolis or the people of Tehran or other places where they're fighting a good fight. Suffer in the wind, cry in the shade, shudder with the lonesome, howl defiant as wolves, dance like the whole world's watching. Though the fascist tanks are rolling, though the breath of the wounded is at your neck, though the government of the meek is crumbling and the merchants of fear hold sway, and the marksman blinks, dance in your shoes, dance in your cars, dance in your SUVs, dance at your spinning wheels. If we can't dance, it's not our revolution. If we can't sing our barbaric yelp, there's no song. Dance like horseshoe crabs in old Walt Whitman's beard. Dance like William Blake, angel-headed at the baptismal font. Dance like a bluesman holding court in the unyielding cotton fields. Dance for the children of a failed God, for the postal, for the cut rate, for the thief. Dance for orphans scraping at your door, tin pan gods, false leaders who deceive us. Dance for naked prophets raked in by the millions from the mouths of the poor. Dance for the beggar at the corner, for the free man held captive at the illegal border, and the clowns and idiots and pretty women and men in their empty-hearted limousines. Some folks say we should dance like nobody's looking. I say dance like the whole world's watching. Dance for lovers and losers at both ends of the leash. Dance for the freely addicted. Dance like your life hangs in the balance, because it does. Dance like there's no tomorrow, for the lost and unaccounted for the unknown astronaut who left us here in the first place, for the rebel at the hangman's noose and the revolutionary with his many reckless adventures. Dance for the innocent, subdued by tyrants. Dance for the rich man in his chains of ambition. Dance until the music disappears, for the heartbroken, for the medicated, for the put upon, for the fooled, for the self-doubters, for the straight-laced, for the street vendor, the town crier, and the boy who cried wolf. Dance for the elevator operators and invisible unemployed and the falsely accused. Dance, poets, dance. Poets for the underestimated and overwhelmed, the uneducated and surrounded, and the weavers of impossible dreams. There are hearts yet to be kindled in the cold, dark night that surrounds us. There are souls of 10,000 nations yet to be liberated from their nests of shame. Dance, poets, dance. Thank you.
Thank you, George Wallace and John Macker. It's so nice to have these. This is now recorded for all of our listeners out there throughout the world. So your voices will reach a lot of those besides here today. So thank you for sharing that. And we will now celebrate with some cake, some book sales. Both George and John will sign copies, and we'll also have George sign some copies to leave behind. So if you're online listening, you can go to our website at poetryplayhouse.com and buy, if there's extra signed copies, we'll have those as well. So thank you so much. And we stand in solidarity with the poetry community and all poets everywhere. Well, thank you.